Hey, Machinery Pete here. Well, we got another interesting question for you this week. This one actually started off pretty simple. Just an email I got late last week from a farmer in Alberta, Canada, who emailed me looking for some information on a John Deere 9660 STS combine. But what this turned into was shining the spotlight on an international fraud attempt to use the internet to sell a combine. Now let me show you how this unfolded. Here's the email I got last Thursday from Alberta, Canada farmer Richard Dargis. Richard had recently subscribed to our MachineryPete.com website as he's looking to buy a used combine and wanted to research current values on John Deere 9660 STSs. It seems Richard had just received an email out of the blue from a firm Ecoban PLC. This firm represented that they had a repo combine available for sale, a 2007 model John Deere 9660 STS with 400 hours, asking price $125,000. Richard emailed them back and expressed interest in the combine. Ecoban PLC immediately emailed back very detailed information on the combine, plus 5 nice pictures of the machine. They mentioned this repo combine was located in Minnesota. Richard did some quick research and learned that Ecoban PLC is a Nigerian bank. Definitely some red flags went up there. Ecoban PLC forwarded Richard the name of a rep in Minnesota where the combine is located. That rep called Richard in Canada. Richard noted the fellow had a very heavy accent. The Ecoban rep said he was in Hawaii but would be back in Minnesota tomorrow and that he was holding the combine on his lot for Ecoban. Richard told Ecoban the only way he'd do this transaction with them would be to deliver funds to them in the U.S. He would not wire any funds overseas. He mentioned driving to Minnesota to check out the combine. This is the point Richard contacted me for my opinion. Turns out the combine was located in Plainview, Minnesota, just 25 minutes up the road from Rochester, where I'm located. I advised Richard before he hopped in the car and drove to Minnesota to contact an ag lender I know in Plainview, Gary Tim with People's State Bank. I'm here with Gary Tim, Executive Vice President of People's State Bank in Plainview, Minnesota. Now, Gary, let's talk about that interesting phone call last week from my email friend Richard in Canada. Tell me how that happened here.
One day last week, got a phone call from Richard. He just left a message. He said it was kind of an odd phone call, but he was looking for a combine.
Right.
And he saw on the internet that there was one located in Minnesota, a repo for sale by a foreign bank.
Right.
And he was just curious if I knew anything about this company.
Mm-hmm.
He called him back and indicated that I didn't recognize the company. Plainview is a small, rural 3,000 population community, and I mentioned if you give me more information, address, I'd be willing to drive by just to see if I'd see a combine around in the yard or whatever. Right. And left that message with him. He called me back with an address for Plainview, which had the right street address. That was a Plainview address.
The address where they said the combine was?
Yes, the address where they said the combine was located. He said 410th Street, he said 4010th Street,
mm-hmm.
and 410th Street is the last business on that block, and 410th Street just happens to be an implement dealership in town.
And what dealership is that?
It was Plainview AgriPower, and I just happened to get a phone call right after that from a salesman from that firm, and we were just visiting about this, and he says, well, we have a John Deere 9960 or 9660 combine on our lot. And so I called Richard back, got the serial number, more information on it, and lo and behold, the combine that Richard was looking at was the identical combine that was sitting on their lot.
Wow. And it was not a repo, and
it was not a repo.
Local trade-in?
It was a trade-in from a local farmer in their area who, incidentally, I knew,
Right.
It wasn't a customer of ours, but I knew the individual.
Right.
So I relayed that back to Richard, and I also relayed the information on to the salesman, and I think they touched base at some point or another concerning the combine.
Have you, now how long have you been an ag lender, Gary?
31 years.
Okay.
And,
have you run across any these type of scams with used machinery before in your
This
years?
is the first that I've run across where there's a scam like this where they've had that much information. And what concerns me more on this is that Richard was told to wire the money, and that's what kind of tricked him a little bit, is that he didn't really want to wire the money until he knew, that the transaction was legit.
Gary, just in these situations where you're dealing with machinery that's for sale a long ways away, I would imagine just get as much information as you can.
And if the deal really seems good, it's probably too good to be true.
Right.
I mean, do some checking and,
Right.
Call the people in the area, the local implement dealer or the banks or whatever, and just, do your research.
You can never do too much homework, right?
That's correct.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your help with this, Gary. You saved our friend Richard in Canada a long drive to Minnesota and probably possibly a lot of heartache. So, again, thanks for doing what you do and helping us out.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, here we go. Well, here with Gary Kobylarczyk of Minnesota Ag Group in Plainview, Minnesota. And Gary, I guess this John Deere Combine, this 9660, was a local trade you guys had for a while, or?
Yes, it was.
Okay, tell me what happened when Gary gave you a call last week.
He said that a dealer from Canada was looking for our particular combine down here and wanted to know if he could buy it for $125,000, which is about $90,000 less than what it's worth.
Right.
And so, and he was supposed to, this other guy called him, and he was supposed to wire the money to, I think it was Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
and then he could come and pick up the combine,
Right.
which we had no idea what was going on there.
Right. So someone must have just taken the information and the pictures of the combine you guys had listed on a website for sale and then represented it as their own, apparently, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, how long you been in the implement business, Gary?
40 years.
Okay. Have you run across any of these internet-type scams before? Or?
To this day, no, we haven't. This is the first one.
Okay. Do you think the fact that farmers are looking over a wider area for equipment lends itself to maybe a little bit more of this potentially happening? Or?
Yeah. We get emails every now and then from customers wanting us to send them a price on a piece of used machinery we have here.
Right.
And then you go to email them back or call them back, and there's no such number there.
Really?
So there are scams going on out there.
So your advice to farmers, looking for machinery in different parts of the country, I would imagine just do your homework, make a lot of phone calls.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, here's the combine in question. A 2007 model John Deere 9660 with 400 hours, sitting on the back lot of Minnesota Ag Group's lot in Plainview, Minnesota. Nope, it's not a repo, but you can see how the scammers bought themselves some cover by claiming the combine was a repo, so that prospective buyers might believe the super low sale price of $125,000. How did the scammers get in touch with Richard from Canada? They got his email address from a wanted ad he posted just days earlier on an equipment website. Then the scammers simply lifted the info and pics on that John Deere 9660 from a dealer equipment website and represented themselves as the seller. Kind of scary how easy it was to do and almost pull off. Folks, there are a lot of bad apples out there. Unfortunately, I think we may see more internet machinery scams like this in the years to come. Best advice? Do your homework, make the necessary phone calls, and make sure the folks you are buying from or selling to are trustworthy. And oh yeah, one more thing. Never, never, never wire any money to Nigeria. I'm Machinery Pete. See you at the sales.